Hi Wolfgang, thank you for being here with us. Could you shortly introduce yourself?
My name is Wolfgang Dohne. I'm the Senior Vice President of FECAVA. I studied in Hanover and at Oslo University, and but then worked most of my professional life in the UK. And I'm still a UK resident. I still live and work in the UK. But this summer I am working as a locum in Sweden.
You are originally from Germany and moved to the UK. How did your life road take you there? And you also studied in Norway.
When I qualified in Germany, I had already spent my internships in Norway. So I had worked up in Norway, and I then did an additional course in Norway at the vet school in Oslo to get also Norwegian qualification. However, at that time, um, it was difficult to get a working permission for Norway. I could get one for all the other EU states, but at that time, not for Norway or for Switzerland or other EFTA countries. So, which with hindsight was probably a good thing. So I started working in Germany, didn't particularly like it because I wanted to work more with small animals. And then there were opportunities in the UK to start working in the UK. And I thought, well, okay, go over there for a year or two to get more practice with small animals, because I mean the UK was always sort of a fantastic area to practice small animal veterinary medicine. Well, and that was 27 years ago. So it took a little bit longer than initially expected.
Could you compare the countries you've worked as a veterinary clinician?
It's probably difficult for me to comment on Germany because I haven't really worked in Germany for 30 years. I have a lot of contact to colleagues in Germany, but for the day-to-day work in Germany, I have not experienced. So because of that, my view of the working environment in Germany might here or there seem a little bit antiquated. But it is so, I find that we Germans like to have a clear structure of command or something like that, or it's a clear structure. Who is the owner of the practice? Who is in charge? What are we doing when? And somebody is calling the shots. This is very good if you have a team that is not working well together. If you then have somebody who is a good leader, then that works. So coming over then to the UK was a different scenario. It was more a business approach, so it was more the interest was more and make sure that you provide a good customer service. These here are your turnover figures, so they were very open with the business figures. How much is a practice turning over in a month? So there were certain sort of financial targets that you were expected to reach. That was never discussed, say, in Germany. And then it was a team approach. So it didn't matter if you are the vet, somebody is a nurse, somebody is a receptionist. At the end of the day, that what counts is the overall picture. So if, I don't know, the nurse is messing up or you are messing up, at the end of the day, we all lose out. And it was also, so I was working suddenly in a team of 6 vets, 1 British, 1 Belgian, 2 South Africans, and 1 Australian. And fantastic, different academical backgrounds, different attitudes, different knowledge bases, different interests in veterinary medicine. And we were all sort of young vets that were helping each other out. So everybody sort of chipped in with a certain amount of knowledge. And there was also no problem approaching more senior vets or colleagues and even neighboring colleagues for advice. And that was an environment I very much appreciated. Something also that was also very different was the working hours. In Germany, when I started, and that's now quite a while ago, I was working from 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. I was every second night on call. I was every second weekend on call. And that was considered actually a little bit of a cushion, a little bit of a soft job, because some vets were not even guaranteed the weekends, or the weekend started on Saturday afternoon or something like that. So when I then came to the UK, yes, at the time then we were working weekends and also sometimes night emergencies, but I got a lot of time out to make up for the hours I had worked on the weekend. So suddenly I found myself with 1.5 days off every week, which I found absolutely amazing. I was then moving from Germany to a smaller town near London. So I could go in my time off, I could go and do sightseeing in London, visit the sites around us in Surrey. I contacted specialists, orthopedic and soft tissue specialists in the London area, and was allowed to look over their shoulder or assist them with their operation. It was a freedom I thought I would never have. And I was just so pleased that I had made this move over to the UK.
What about Norway and Sweden?
Now, working in Sweden compared to England is the pace is slower. English veterinary practices are, at the end of the day, they are a business. Veterinary practices in Germany are more sort of, well, you are professional and you have somebody for a consultation. They are consulting you, so you are a consultant, you are professional. Because of that, it's also in German practices still fairly poo-pooed to, say, sell pet foods or toys or something like that for pets, because, well, come on, we are academics. So we are not sort of, well, we are not relying on that. But what they are missing out is you can make a lot of money with pet food. You can make a lot of money with toys. And I tell you what, this is sometimes actually good fun, what you can sell in your practice. So, I mean, in my own veterinary practice, I was at times in the UK selling ice cream for dogs, for example, and you wouldn't believe how much ice cream I sold. So we're going over to Sweden. Sweden is Sweden has a very long social democratic heritage. Because of that, something like working hours and fair working conditions are very much part of the game. So they and very important. So whereas in the UK, you might be paid as a locum, for example, a daily rate, and whatever work is thrown at you, you have to work your way through it. In Sweden, it is more so you're paid for the hours you work. If you have to work extra hours, it is absolutely understandable that you have to be paid for the extra hours. Your employer is trying to make sure that you don't exceed the 40 hours you have to work. It's very important. Mental health is very important. It is very important that you also have a social and a family life next to it. Obviously, I mean, there are downsides working in Sweden. I would say, unless you work in, say, Göteborg or Stockholm or so, this is a very rural and country with not which is not very densely populated. So when it comes, say, to the social life, to something like restaurants or, say, culinary highlights or cultural highlights, it's not as richly provided as you might maybe find in Italy, or as you might find in, yeah, if you live in the UK.
Was there a language barrier? how do you communicate in Sweden?
Generally, obviously, English is the key, is absolute necessary, and also here in Scandinavia, you sort of get by in English, but nevertheless, there is a problem. Say you have to write if you have to read through pages of clinical history, which are then in Swedish, then that's a little bit difficult. You can, as most things are electronically, you can run it through, say, Google Translate or something like that. But at the end of the day, you also need to communicate with the clients. And I find here in Sweden, a lot of pet owners, especially the older generation, they normally the general public is very good with English, but the older generation, they quite like to speak in their native tongue, and then then it means in my case I speak Norwegian to them, and they quite like Norwegian. So the two languages are pretty related. And the beauty is, at the end of the day, veterinary medicine, however you practice it, it's a universal thing. A bitch spay is a bitch spay. If it is in Sweden, if it is in Norway, if it is in England or in Germany, it's all the same thing. Has different names, but the operation itself is everywhere the same.
You've been actively involved in FECAVA for many years. You are vice president at the moment. Why, in your opinion, FECAVA community matters?
As you can see from my own life, I'm very much embracing sort of the whole European idea, and I think, despite of things like Brexit and a stronger sort of national movements in different countries, I think that Europe is something we should both be proud of, and we should be very, very lucky that we live on a continent which is so diverse and which is also predominantly so democratic as Europe is. I would not like to wish really on to live on any other continent than Europe. And FECAVA is combining two things. On one hand, this European idea, but then on the other hand, also the fact that in the grand scheme of things, we are actually a fairly small profession, and we are exposed to the same or very similar challenges. And FECAVA is an organization that is combining these two ideas. So the common interests of in companion animal veterinary medicine with the pan-European idea. And as I said before about, say, operations like a bitch spay or the repair of a fracture, this is not done greatly. So the mechanics of it are not much different in any different country. Sort of you have to do it in the same way. And also knowledge gain is not just happening in one country. In different countries are people with excellent brains and great ideas. And FECAVA gives us an opportunity to share our ideas, to support each other, to provide continuing professional education to areas which might struggle with this. It gives us an idea to make friendships between professionals from different countries. It's reaching over language barriers. It is, I think, an exciting and an extremely helpful organization for all veterinarians, not only in Europe, but also all over the world. A lot of helpful work has been done by FECAVA. For example, the hygiene posters that we produce, which are now used even in China, and in several countries outside of Europe. I think the work we do here on our continent is leading the way for similar organizations in other parts of the world.
In the end, do you have any message for European vets?
Well, take advantage of the opportunities this time. Okay, this is maybe not the ideal time with COVID-19, but things will sort of get better and will return to some sort of normal. And that includes um, uh, that there is more out there than veterinary medicine just in your own country. Have a look what is out there. Don't be afraid to make a move and, for example, move over a few borders and go to a country which might be of interest for you. I mean, if you don't like it, then you can always go back, but you might surprise yourself. There are great opportunities out there. Be mobile. And I think the more we exchange our knowledge and our ideas together, the more we will all benefit from it. And also, I mean, we as human beings and as people who want to live in peace will benefit from it. One of the big problems our forefathers had, that they didn't understand each other. And we as fellow professionals, I think, owe it to our education, but also to our profession itself, to think bigger, not just as regional providers of services, but also to have a more, what shall I say, international approach. So then that means go, for example, to an international conference for a change. Don't listen just to the people of your own universities. Go outside your comfort zone, and if that involves maybe listening to a lecture in a different language, do it. Communicate with colleagues elsewhere, and you will be surprised how enriching this is. A very simple thing you can do, and I have practiced that over many years, which doesn't cost you any money at all, is when you go on holidays somewhere abroad and you're a companion animal professional, why not knock on the door of a fellow professional elsewhere in Europe, introduce yourself, and just have a look how he or she is working. And it was very rarely so that I was not welcomed by the fellow professional. And suddenly you are no longer just a tourist, you are a visiting colleague. And just if you are afraid of sort of maybe working abroad, just give that a try and have a look how that feels. You might actually surprise yourself.
Thank you so much, and I hope to meet you in person somewhere soon.